2, 1. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Equation of Excellence. I am here with one of my favorite humans, the best looking Utah on the planet, and just a wonderful, wonderful dude, Saunder Schroeder. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Robba. Happy to be here with the
Of
best
course.
looking person in Austin. Oh, it's a
Let's
little more. It's a little
go.
more competitive, though. You know, Austin's more competitive.
How long you been in Utah?
I mean, pretty much my whole life.
Really? Never lived anywhere else?
Well, I did the whole Mormon mission for 2 years. So
Okay, on the road.
Indiana, remember?
Yes, you were. I was being the DJ, and you were knocking on the doors, trying to share the gospel.
Knocking
It's
on the
so
doors.
interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, Indiana's pretty much. I mean, I guess technically New Hampshire when I was 3. But
that's where you get that from. Live free or die, baby. Let's go. Powerful New Hampshire. You have such an interesting career arc. So I want to get into that a little bit. And then I also want to get into what you're doing now with Buffed Energy. I'm really kicking myself for not going in on that with you. You are doing some really cool stuff there. But before that, let's lay the groundwork for the people. Tell me a little bit about your career arc, because you went to BYU, you played football there, and then you bought a big fancy house, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling your story for you. So give the listeners what they want, the insight into the depths of the soul of Saunder.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I actually started my first e-commerce business 12 years ago. And so that's kind of what
I didn't
got
know
me.
this.
Yeah. It was called
What
No
was
Name.
it? No, that's a good name.
It was a KNO in parentheses and the name on the outside. It was a pretty sweet brand. We kind of wanted to be like the unbranded brand. And so that was kind of like
good.
our goal. I mean, if you think back then, like we were still kind of in like the Abercrombie, Aeropostale, like logos just plastered all over everything.
Yes,
and so we actually would like hide our logo on like our clothes. And then like our first product was a watch with the mirror face. And so what you always saw was like a reflection of you or what you were doing. And so it was a pretty sweet little
that's
brand.
a bar.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then, at the same time, I was training to play college football. So I never officially was on the team. I got all the swag and all of that, but I blew my knee out literally 2 weeks before it was going to be official. So.
And you were a unit at the time too. I mean, you're still a unit, but you're a big boy. Were you 6'3", 6'4", something like that?
6'4",
250-ish, give or take.
I mean, back then I was 6'4", like 235.
But you were bone and muscle.
I was pretty jacked. So
how did you deal with, that's pretty hard to deal with, to be a high performer and then deal with such a catastrophic injury, because there's nothing you can do, right? It's just rest. Like it's just it's not rehab, it's nothing. It's just like, dude, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. I mean, the issue was I strained or sprained. I can't remember which one was which, but my ACL and LCL. And so when I went in, to get it like scoped and looked at, they're like, what we can do is, they're like, we're either going to have to cut this and then reattach it because it had been lengthened in one spot and then shortened in another. Or you just like rehab it, for the rest of your life kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I call it like the greatest thing that never happened to me because then I was able to like focus on my e-commerce brand and just like go all in on that, where I was kind of splitting time because I was training like 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, at night, and then fitting in working on my brand between that. So so it was good. I mean, and then worked on that for a couple of years and then ended up going and working for a digital marketing agency. I just went, funny enough, I met like the 2 founders there at like a startup weekend event, which is where you go and essentially start a business from nothing to something in like 50 hours.
Like a hackathon, if you will.
Yeah. And so, we started like a little business together. And then I saw on Twitter, the CEO was looking for an executive assistant. And I'm like, I feel like there's something special about this company, but I feel overqualified to do this, but I don't know. I feel like I need to do it. So I started as the executive assistant and just sat with the CEO. day in and day out and just listen to him on like all the sales calls. I was answering all of his emails, doing his laundry and or dry cleaning and
No.
washing his car as well, but then that only lasted for 2 months. And then they moved me into, well, funny enough, there was one day he was late. Robert can relate with this being late. Um,
Zing. Well played, sir.
so yeah, there was one day he was late and he's like, look, I can't take this sales call. Can you take it? And so
Okay.
I jumped on, took it, pitched them. It was called National Parks, reservations. I don't know, more or less back then it was a directory to find all like the
Yeah.
hotels and resorts around national parks.
Yeah, I'm tracking. I actually know what it is.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I pitched them like this crazy content idea, like this awesome interactive map where you click on like Zion National Park and then it like
Yeah.
populates all like the hotels and like things to
Yeah.
do. And they're like, that's amazing. So I ended up closing them for like 10K a month. And
Ooh,
the
not
CEO
nothing.
was just like pumped, and so then that moved me into that sales and marketing business development function within the company. I mean, then I don't know, I was probably like employee number, 17 or 18. So it was a pretty
Yeah.
small company.
Yeah.
Lots of people like still going to BYU and stuff. But yeah, so then I went from that to all of a sudden I was pitching companies like ESPN, Disney, Dell,
Yeah.
Adobe, Time Warner, flying all over the country, kind of doing like a nerdier version of Don Draper. And yeah, that got me like introduced to digital marketing. I was just creating these massive marketing campaigns that we would get to go viral on Reddit, and then we'd build up their SEO. And we got Dell ranking for like the hardest B2B search terms and stuff. So it was a good exposure to content marketing, viral marketing, SEO, all of that. So yeah,
That's
then
so
I
interesting.
don't know. You want me to keep going?
A little bit, because you ended up, I mean, I didn't know any of this, which is insane. And weirdly enough, I actually had a parallel experience where I used to work at a company called On It, and I was Aubrey's right hand man. And so I was doing
Yeah.
essentially the same thing, where there was like some very high value activities. And then there was also like, shoveling shit kind of stuff, like assistant work, candidly. And so it was
Yeah.
definitely, but I do think that is so helpful for young folks to get around people that like just have that it. Like, for whatever you think of Aubrey has the it. Like, he was
Yeah.
just a top floor
100%.
marketer, commands a room, like manages people well. Like, I learned so much from that job. It was a really hard job, to be fair. Like, I would never, because I was a 24/7 kind of thing. I'll never do a 24/7 type of thing
Yeah.
again. I remember, and I love Aubrey. He's a crazy human, but I still remember one time it was like 11:30 at night, and he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, Rava," because I think maybe I got it from him probably, but he would like get to the airport and just kind of try and walk on the plane. Like, he did not like to get to the airport with time, and so he had just bought his beautiful ranch in Sedona and was driving back to Phoenix to fly back. He's like, "Hey, dude, I don't think I'm going to get back in time to drop the car off. So I'm just going to leave the car in the garage at the airport. Can you figure out how to get somebody to pick it up?" I'm just like, "Dude, it's 11:30 at night." And I'm supposed to like, so I've figured all this. It ended up all working out, but there's
amazing.
definitely, yeah, there's definitely some war stories we can talk more about on offline. But I do think there's a certain aspect, especially when you're younger, because you just don't have the cost structure, or ideally you don't have the cost structure that you're going to have. You don't have the obligations that you're going to have as you get older. You might have a partner, you might have like these things. And
Yeah.
so being able to kind of take an economic hit at the beginning, but be paid in essentially knowledge, which again, be very, very wary of that, where I wasn't hired that way. Like, but
Yeah.
I think that's a really smart move for you. And I didn't know that. And then so
Yeah.
now you're pitching all these campaigns. When do you make the leap to the big show? Because
Yeah.
you were running the show for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that was honestly, that experience was so invaluable. And I got to like a place where I had a pretty, I mean, I would say for a 24-year-old, a pretty amazing comp plan, so I was
Yeah.
making really good money. But I think I always saw myself as a marketer,
Yeah.
and like really pushing growth. And so I think me being in like a sales role and handling some marketing functions
Yeah.
for the agency itself. But I don't know. I would always get annoyed because all the account managers or the marketers there would always kind of just like shit on me, like I'm not a marketer and I just
Yeah.
pitched, these big ideas. So
Yeah.
I think that was a little bit of like my fuel. And so I had the opportunity to go and run a sister brand for an e-commerce company that was doing about 30 million.
Okay.
Um, long story short, they went through a very, very rough rebrand and lost
Yeah.
80% of traffic and just like a terrible migration. So they fired the
Ooh.
entire marketing team. There was probably like 12 people, and they had me come in, fill in on marketing. So I replaced, it was me and another social media girl. And
Okay.
so all of a sudden I went from like, trying to build up this sister company, for a month to like running this marketing that was, there were 5 million email subscribers, for
Yeah.
example, like
Yeah.
massive numbers. That's where I got started in Facebook ads, so that was, about a decade ago. And,
Yeah.
we were seeing like a 30x ROAS,
Yeah. The
then.
golden era, baby.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then I got our affiliate campaign started, and that was driving, a few $100,000 a month. Like it was cool because I was able to pull all of the levers. I think
Yep.
to some degree, though, it kind of has handicapped me in a way where I've just gotten used to doing everything. And so it's hard for me to like scale and like hire. I mean, from our experience, you can, see that as well. I just like to always have my hands and things. But yeah, so I went and did that. Then I went and started the Facebook ads product or service at another agency, and
Yep.
was able to grow that into about a 10 million a year business,
Yep.
if not a little bit bigger than that. And yeah, I ended up exiting out of that company.
Yeah.
It's called Disruptive Advertising, was there for 7 or 8 years. And that was
Yeah.
an amazing experience as well. And then, Rabba, I think it was actually Kevin, hit me up and was like, hey, would you want to be on this podcast? And I'm like, sure. And that's where Rob and I got connected one day. And I'll let you tell your side of the story with that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was hilarious because at the time, Kevin, head of community at Triple Whale, wonderful human.
Great human.
I told him, hey, man, just find fucking cool people. I just want to talk to cool people, and my weeks are usually very front loaded. So by the time I get to Friday, I'm a vegetable. And I think
Yeah.
he had scheduled us like on a Friday afternoon or whatever. I'm like, man, I don't
It's
want
like
to fucking
4 o'clock your time.
yeah. Yeah. I was like, man, I don't want to fucking take this call. Oh my God, this is going to be so terrible. Who is this guy? This big shot, whatever. Like, okay, he seems like cool enough guy. I'll take the call. And then we absolutely just blasted off. The mind meld was so strong. And I was like, hey, dude, are you looking for anything? Like, and you were like, actually. And then it was just this really crazy happenstance of finding one of my best hires of all time and a really good friend doing something I didn't want to do. So there is a lesson in that. And, do what you say and you'll get a lot of things out of that because, yeah, I mean, you are a one of one find. And it was just so funny how that happened because yeah, I don't know if I do that today because I get so tired all the time on Fridays. But yeah, so if you are searching for people, just reach out, see if you vibe with them, and or at least that's how I hire. Anyways, our vibe check was super super high, and then you're obviously an intellectual monster as well, and I think you're very well suited to kind of early stage growth stage, and we'll get into actually buff next because that's what you're doing as well, where you can sit across and do not only the leadership, but also step down to the IC role. But I think the real magic that you have is you don't have a problem giving up IC stuff and managing people. I've found, or at least myself included, it was really hard because basically my whole life I've either been an IC or I'm running my own little boutique agency where basically I have some permalancers, but everything is in my head. So I don't need systems. I don't need to share information. Like I am the information kind of thing. And I think you navigate that so well. And your ability to manage and motivate people is something that is truly special. And I think, and this is actually a question for you. Do you think leaders can learn that, or do you think it's innate? Like in terms of inspiring people, commanding a room, like when you walk into a room, people listen to you. And I know other people that are incredible intellectual powerhouses, but they don't have that encapsulating aura, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think it's definitely learned. I mean, I'm one that definitely feels that confidence is learned.
Yeah,
I think it's, and maybe not even, well, sure, learned. I think a lot of it comes just from experience, right? And
that's well said.
not being afraid to like make that jump. I will say, like, I've learned a lot. Like, on the LDS mission that I brought up before, they have different like area leaders. So I
Hmm.
kind of went through like all of the different like leadership until I got to a position where I was actually over like all of Indiana.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, the further up I went, the more I was disliked. Because I would never meet people where they were at. I always just like held them to the standard I felt like everyone needed to be.
Very
And
well
so
said.
I think I've had some just good learnings over the years of like truly meeting people where they're at. And I think, I don't know, I was very, very dogmatic in every company I've been at, like with
Yeah.
company culture and like, this is the greatest company in the world. And almost it became like a religion. And I
Yeah.
think like letting go of that and actually just focusing on the person and like, I don't know if this is the place they're going to be at for 3 years,
Yep.
but let's like just help them get where they need to be regardless. And I think that's always served me well, is like just removing the expectations from people. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously there's performance expectations always, but
Sure.
I'm just saying like the standard that I would have, it just kind of like eliminating those to some degree and just helping them be the best version of themselves.
That's beautiful, man. Candidly, that's where I fall over a lot in terms of my leadership style. Where, dude, I only like to really mess with my lieutenants, like my generals and lieutenants. Those are the people I interact with. Those are the people that I hired, and then anybody under that layer. Usually I'll just check them for the vibe, but it's that person, it's that direct reports resource. I really could care less as long as they don't have any sort of existential, things to the culture that I'm trying to build or to the team
Yeah.
chemistry or things of that nature. But yeah, you excel at that way more than I do, because that is something I have yet to shake. And it's definitely a toxic trait where, and it's definitely, they say, great founders podcast, David Serna, where the father is imprinted on the son. My
Mhm.
dad is like just hard charging immigrant father, like just engineer, like just if you meet my dad, you'll understand why I'm so crazy. Crazy in a good way, but just a little anecdote. When I was younger, he was he was our soccer coach, because the US, if you're foreign, you're automatically good at soccer. And so like, you know what I mean? You get thrown as a soccer coach, and my dad was foreign. Um, and he just has no time for people that aren't elite or don't have 110% effort.
Yep.
And that is something that I still have not shaken. Like, he literally got kicked off our as the coach because he was telling, like, 6, 7 year olds, why are you suck? Well, you should be doing this. Like, just very dad, they're 7 years old, like, fucking chill out. And so that's something that I'm still working on personally. And I feel like you've mastered, because I've seen you be able to manage, not only manage, 'cause I feel like manage is almost like a pejorative, but lead people to the promised land in the best way possible. And that promised land might be different for everybody. And I think that's something that is a really interesting distinction that you've brought up, that I sometimes can lose the forest for the trees, where I'm just like, I just want to stack paper or get performance or this, that, and the other. And that was it, at Triple Whale. You made a huge impact on me there, where team morale matters, dude. I was never a team morale guy. I was like, this is bullshit. This is just HR nonsense. But when you start running a team, it matters, man. Having people rowing in the right direction, having people excited, making sure that people's incentives personally are still aligned with the company's incentives. And if they start to diverge, have a conversation. Because I am also very much aligned with you, where I don't want anybody to be working for me if they don't want to be here. Like, I want
Yep.
to run a small team of killers. And like, if people don't like, if that incentives diverge, like, I don't think people are right and wrong. I think people do what they're incentivized to do. And if people need to leave or they have a better offer or whatever, like, dude, I'm all for it, man. I think that is something that I really stole from you and your leadership style, is like, how can I empower these people to get towards those goals? And the more the question that person is trying to answer, this actually goes for managing up and down, the better you can communicate, because you know what they're trying to get at. And if you don't know what that question is that somebody's trying to answer, then it can be hard, because you can either talk past people, you can talk around people, you can talk about things that just aren't applicable to them. So yeah, man, I think that you've really coalesced into just one of the best leaders and managers. But okay, Saunder pump
I
up
like that.
session over. But okay, now we can nerd out on Buffed. So tell me all about Buffs, because the Triple Whale team kind of spun down. You ended up leaving. You kind of took a little hiatus. We were kind of batting back and forth what your next move was going to be, and then you just jumped. So tell people what the jump is, because it is awesome. I'm actually
Did it.
drinking some right now.
Nice. Yeah. So Buffed was something that I have been working on for over 3 years. Like I registered the company. Honestly, it's coming up on 4 years. So
Oh, I
that's how
didn't
long
know it
it's.
was that marinating that long.
Yeah, it's been a concept for a really long time. Um, I mean, I think I've had the first like run of our brand guideline was, yeah, 3 years ago. Is like when
No
I got it
way.
back. Yeah,
Well,
so it's
you
been.
have cart before the horse right now. Tell people what it is.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, Buffed is a premium energy drink made with 3 organic mushrooms, 4 nootropics, caffeine, B vitamins, and electrolytes. So more or less, I was drinking 2 to 3 canned energy drinks a day,
Yeah.
and I don't think you ever drink a canned energy drink and actually like feel good about yourself.
No,
Um,
you cliff, or I almost always cliff. Like you're like, oh my god, I feel so good, and then like an hour later,
Bam.
I'm like,
Yeah,
death.
you're down. Yeah, so yeah, well, and that's why I was drinking so many, right? Because I'd hit that spike and it feels good, and then all of a sudden I'm crashing. I'm like, dude, I need
Yeah,
another one like three,
yeah,
4 hours later, and it's like, I don't know, not obviously great. And I had what I called next to me my shame drawer, where I would drink them and then just store them, and so I would just like be putting them in there, and
out of
I
sight,
actually
out of
put
mind, baby.
yeah, I actually put that in our pitch deck.
That's
So
pretty good. That's
yeah,
pretty
it's
good.
good. So yeah, and so I just started experimenting, with different mushroom supplements, nootropics, like
Yeah,
what replacements are out there,
yeah,
and you get like a little like tingle brain buzz, from those,
yeah,
but you don't necessarily get like that caffeine spike. So I'm like, well,
yeah,
what happens if I start like marrying everything together? So I would just take all these different pills, including like a caffeine pill.
yeah,
I was like, oh wow, this feels like this is good, and I'm not having like this crazy crash afterwards.
yeah,
And so I'm like, well, but I do also miss like having that like flavor and just like something to
yeah,
drink, like that
yeah,
routine.
yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of then all of a sudden just started formulating over 2 years different iterations of Buff, testing out different flavor houses, and different flavors and all of that, and then funny enough, in November 2022, I just completely pulled the plug on everything. I was just like,
Oh, I didn't know this.
yeah, I'm like, this isn't it, because the brand was like super clean, just like, I don't know, very like is like a mesh of like
Oh, I do
premium.
remember this. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
now, yeah, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
yeah. So yeah, it was just like very premium and very just like clean.
Yeah,
like you see with most like I wouldn't even say luxury, just premium brands.
yep, yep.
Um, And I'm just like, this is so uninspiring. So funny enough, when we were at the Whaley's in Austin, and I think everything kind of just like lined up. I was doing 75 hard then as
Yeah,
well. So I just kind of just like dialed in mentally. And this isn't to shit on anyone intentionally at the Whaley's. So I'll just throw out that caveat because I'm about to do that. I just saw
with all due
every just
respect.
about yeah, sorry. I mean, it is what it is. I just saw every brand that was there for the most part was so boring.
Right,
Like their marketing was working. Now there's for sure exceptions. I'm not going to call out the exceptions, but
right.
I think that we can guess who they are. Um, but I was just like, and you had like Liquid Death everywhere,
Yeah,
like at that event. So I'm
yeah,
just like drinking Liquid Death because I'm like fully sober, and I'm like, dude, what if with Buff's brand we just go like crazy and just have
yeah,
fun, and like I create everything that I've always wanted to create, and
yeah.
so that's kind of like I guess the antithesis of Buffed is like, we just don't take ourselves seriously, and our marketing is crazy and out there and weird. Our
Oh, it's
branding is,
so
but at the
cool.
same time, it's like still like polished, and you can like still tell it's like premium.
Yes.
So yeah, so that was Buffed and kind of how it was born. So yeah, we launched 3 months ago. We're off to a decent start. The
Yeah.
first few months were a little slow, but we tripled revenue last month. We'll probably
Let's
double
go.
revenue, from last month. So we're starting to really find like a good foundation, getting on Amazon, getting our retail going. Obviously our e-commerce and subscription is like,
Yeah.
growing and building. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun.
Man, it's so cool. Yeah, you guys got to go. What is it? Buff.energy? What's
Yeah,
the
buff.energy is the URL.
BUFFED.energy? Dude, the branding is super, super cool. You also have some really crazy merch coming out. How did you land on the product mix? Because you have two, and you actually have some pretty interesting anecdotes, which I don't agree with because I love both of them. But you have two kind of pillar flavors right now, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So we call it pineapple thrash. It's like a
Yeah.
pineapple fruit punch, and then
Yep.
we have our venom berry.
Yep.
I We were originally just going to go with the pineapple, but I
Okay.
realized as we were testing it, I'm like, this is like super sweet. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I was kind of just getting like sick of always having that amount of like sweetness. Everything's like sugar free, but
Yeah.
yeah, with the different sweeteners, we have three different like natural and artificial sweeteners in that one.
Yep.
And so it's really, really sweet. And I'm like, I need something that has like a little bit of like tartness.
Yep.
And so we just kind of went on like both sides of the spectrum where we have the super sweet and then
Oh, that
also,
makes sense now. So kind of
yeah,
bookmarking the taste of each
exactly.
end.
And yep.
And then how did you back into the economics? Because I love what you did, because you have like the little baby sticks and then you have the big monthly packs, because I have the two big monthly zip packs. Like, how
Yep.
did you think of, so now you have the product, and so people starting to brand, like you have the product. How much did the economics dictate like your pricing and packaging and things of that nature? Because it's perfect. Like the stick is great. I can take, like I travel with them now. It's awesome. But how did you, like, you don't have to go into the actual numbers, but and just give me the thought process of like, okay, somebody actually decides they want to make a brand, they found the branding, they like the branding, they like the messaging, but now I got to get into the meat and potatoes of like, how do I make money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 I mean, so like Rob has said, we have, we do things in stick packs. Now,
Yeah.
stick packs are a lot more expensive to do an initial run. Like if
Oh,
we
interesting.
like way more, like, probably 10 to 15 times more expensive just because the MOQ is so much higher. So,
Tracking. That's minimum
so
order quantity for people out there.
good,
Yeah.
good
No.
clarification.
Yeah, no, keep going though. This is great.
Yeah. So our MOQ with stick packs is 150,000 stick packs per flavor.
Not nothing.
And
Oh,
no,
per
not
flavor. So
nothing.
you're talking about 300K for the first run, essentially.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah,
nothing.
stick packs. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot. Like, so for context, like if we were just to not do stick packs and just put things in like a pouch or, a
The
twist,
tub.
with the scoop, like,
Yeah.
yeah, tub. There we go. We could probably, usually like the MOQ on that is like 500 units.
Right.
So
Right.
we're talking 500 units versus 150,000. Right. And so for us, how we then approached it is everything we do with Buffed is approaching it to be $1 billion brand. Like that's my
Ooh,
goal with Buffed,
that's
is
interesting.
to approach it from that standpoint. And so I knew in order to do that, we're going to have to be in retail. It's not just going to be like a D2C e-commerce
Tracking.
play. It's going to be
Yeah.
a lot bigger. And so we're like, what's like the smallest size we can go? Because at the same time, I don't want to sell individual sticks either.
Facts. Yeah.
So with Buffed, I mean, well, just with any mushroom or nootropic supplement, it takes time for your brain to start like feeling that. You'll
Mm-hmm.
notice you don't crash when you
Yeah.
have the energy is like the one thing you will notice. So we knew there's a compounding effect to the product. So we
Yeah.
wanted it at least to be 6. So for us, since we're at least buying in this 150,000 stick packs, it's like, all right, we can charge a little bit more on our 6-pack box. So we actually have
Yeah.
better margin there. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt us as much. And then we have our 30-pack, which we can be kind of more like our value product, a lower cost per stick for the consumer.
Yeah.
And that's, more for people who want to make like the bigger jump initially or love the product from the 6-pack, to go to that and save money. So even though our formula, canned energy drinks cost about 5 to 9 cents per energy drink is like what their costs are. And they charge
Really?
close to 3 to 350 per
Yeah.
can. And our formula, is like 10 times more expensive than that.
Yeah.
Not to give away like too much on the
Yeah.
unit economics, but and so we're not like obviously priced, and we'll have economies of scale like they do, at
Yeah.
some point, which will help. But yeah, so that's kind of how our approach has been to, the 30 and 6-pack and just overall.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Okay. Before we get in the format 5, the 5 questions I'll ask you, what are you most excited about with Buffed? The new flavor, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, looks super cool. I'd love to hear about that. And then the merch looks amazing. If I don't get one of those hoodies, you're going to get stabbed.
You'll
What
get
are you
all the
most
merch.
what are you most excited about? Because it feels like you're crossing the chasm a little bit, where that's always the challenge with starting something new, is you can't look at lagging indicators, right? It's always leading indicators. What are the things that I can control? And then eventually those lagging indicators start like, oh, wow, we doubled our revenue. Oh, we tripled our revenue. Okay, cool. Things are starting to move now. But if you put that as your number one goal, it's challenging, right? Because it's basically like, how do you be rich? Don't be poor. You're like, okay, that makes sense, but like, how do I action against that? Versus like, you're posting everywhere, like your ads are fantastic, social feed on Insta is great. Like, what's the next level up? Like, what are you super stoked about?
Yeah. So you alluded to our next product that we should be launching in the next month or two. It's called pump powder. So one thing that we've heard from a lot of our customers is they use Buffed as a pre-workout.
Yeah.
Um, but the difference between Buffed and other pre-workouts is we actually don't have any of like, L-citrulline, beta-alanine, niacin, like none of the
Yep.
things that kind of give you like that pump,
Yeah.
which is like the citrulline, or like, beta-alanine, you feel like the tingles.
Yeah.
And so actually our next product, what we're doing is it's just a pump powder that you add to your Buff. And so
Oh, that's brilliant. So it's not a standalone, it's a power up.
exactly, yep. So that way you can still have Buffed
Oh.
as like an energy drink, because if you're sitting and working, you don't want like all those like tingles and like all
Yeah,
that
you don't want the niacin, bro.
anxiousness.
Ain't it?
Yeah.
Ain't it?
So you can still have your Buffed, as an energy drink. But then now with this pump powder, you can obviously use it as a pre-workout. And that's how I've been taking it for the last 3 months anyway, is I just bought in bulk, L-citrulline, beta-alanine,
Oh, and you're
and
just
beta-adenine.
juicing up
So
the
yep.
buff.
So
That's
yeah.
interesting.
So that's going to be like our next product, and obviously that helps our customers consume it more as well, which I think
Yes.
helps obviously increase our LTV. And so yeah, so that's our next product that I'm like super excited about. The branding is pretty amazing, and
It's
yeah,
amazing.
it will be
It's
good. So
amazing.
I'm pretty excited about that. And then yeah, honestly, entrepreneurship is like it's definitely a hard game.
It's
It's like
lonely too, dude. It is
it
so
is.
lonely.
It was very, very lonely, like when we did our pre-launch and our launch, because I think just like a good learning lesson is just not have any expectations of anyone. But it's like all the people you thought would support you in your pre-launch or your launch, like actually never did. It's crazy, like the amount of people I'm not even, that close with that were high school, friends or
Yeah.
acquaintances, like them supporting me, and then people who like, I would consider like my ride or die, and
Yeah.
Robbo was actually our first
First push, baby.
customer, first order.
Let's go.
So, but it's like, I've only known Robbo for like a year and a half. Well, I
Yeah.
guess 2 years now.
Yeah,
Coming up.
ish. Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. So it's like, someone like Robbo who I've only known for a couple years versus people I've known my whole life, so I think like, yeah, it's just like a grind, and people want to trust. And then, the day in, day out revenue, definitely that dopamine is real and exists. It's like, it's easy to be excited when you see the revenue, you have those $1,000 days or
Yeah.
$700 days, or, we still haven't, besides our pre-launch or our launch, haven't like crossed like a $3,000 day yet,
Yeah.
so it's like, I think for us though, what we're finding is just the more consistent we are, we're starting to find like our people. So we're working
Yeah.
with like awesome creators. We just had Javon Holland, who's the starting safety and captain for the Miami Dolphins,
Yeah.
was at the Super Bowl at Radio Row with our product. We're finding like bigger streamers on Twitch are starting to
Yeah.
reach out to us because they love our brand and messaging. So I just think with us, with brand being our moat, and that's where my founder and I bring like so much expertise.
Yeah.
We're playing a much longer game. And so for us, it's just about being consistent no matter what the revenue is doing
It's
day in and
beautiful,
day out.
man. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Happens slower than you think, then faster than you think.
Yeah.
Okay, firm out 5. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. If you could have a conversation with any historical figure, dead or alive, who'd it be? And what would be the first question you ask them?
It'd definitely be Steve Jobs.
Interesting. And what's the question?
The question, usually it's just like, who'd you go to lunch or dinner with, so
That's what you're going to use your one question on?
no, I'm just saying that's like normally what the question itself is. I would say, oh man, I would want to ask him something around like, how did he best unlock his genius day in and day out?
Ooh, that's really well said. That's a really good one. I would say, if I would answer for Steve Jobs, I would say that he had, or at least, obviously I didn't know him, but he had an uncanny ability to focus. Like, he said no to so many things that were, he had this line where it's like, saying no to the dumb shit isn't that hard. Obviously I'm paraphrasing, But what's hard is saying no to the really awesome stuff that's going to distract you from the main thing. And he actually railed on Johnny Ive a little bit about that, like in a playful way. But he would go and ask Johnny, or this is a parable from the book where he would go ask Johnny Ive how many times he said no today. And if it wasn't enough, he'd be like, "You're not saying no enough. You need to stay more focused." So I love that.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's a strong pick. What's the most unusual or interesting skill or hobby you have that most people don't know about?
I mean, I guess something that people don't know about, like I'm a huge competitive gamer. So
I didn't know that. What do you get? What do you jump on the sticks? Are you PC Master Race or are
PC.
you console? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you play?
Well, and I mean, and the sticks as well. So funny enough, this week I deleted all my games because I got busy with Vermont and working on Buffed. I'm like, it's like building season, so it's like I just need to like focus and dial in, you know. But any first person shooter. So I love Halo, Apex, Valorant,
Counter Strike, things like that.
I mean, I just grew up like competing my entire life. You know, whether it was football, basketball, baseball, it was like every day was a competition. So video games became, even early on when Halo first dropped, like Halo. System links every day, like because it was just so easy to pick up and just compete, so it just gives me like that feels like competitive itch, I guess.
Yeah, no, I miss that competitive itch a lot. And I just don't have the like you have a very good moderator personality. I am 0 to 100. So I fall down the rabbit hole. But it used to be quite the gamer as well.
Nice.
If you were stranded or on a deserted island and could bring 3 items with you, what would they be and why?
My wife, number 1.
Homer pick, love it. Love her new hair, by the way. She looks fabulous.
Yeah, she's growing it back out. I mean, just because I love her, and it'd be nice to have a partner there. So
of course,
I think that would be one. I mean, I feel like I would need like an axe or a knife or something.
Strong. Some
well,
sort
I
of
mean,
survival
okay, I
tool.
would be like unrealistic. It's like, hey, man, put like a JW, like Marriott W Hotel, like can I
things you can carry?
Can I go here?
Things you can carry.
Yeah. So yeah, some kind of like something to hunt with, something to chop, cut, and then I don't know, like some kind of like probably like a tarp or like something to help with like shelter.
Oh my gosh, my man, the survivalist in you coming out. I love it. So no entertainment. The wife's all the entertainment you need, huh?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, if you're on a desert island, dude, you're just trying to survive. So I don't think there's no room for entertainment.
Fair play. Okay, 2 more. Imagine you have a time machine. You can visit any era in history for a day. Where and when would you go, and what would you do during that time?
Oh, dude. Well, it's gonna get into like my woo-woo side, but I'm for sure going to Egypt.
Oh, so, for sure. Like peak Egypt back in the day.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like 15,000 years ago, like when they built the pyramids. Not like this time period where they think like Cleopatra and stuff built. No. Ancient civilization shit.
Yeah, Cleopatra's actually pretty quote unquote modern compared to the Egyptian stuff. Well, you just did your Nile cruise with the wifey, right? You said it was manageable.
We did 2 weeks in Egypt. Funny enough, it was the same month I stepped away from Triple L full time and went.
Oh, perfect.
Contractor.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, it was amazing. Amazing experience. Just 2 weeks going all over Egypt, did a Nile cruise. It was probably the best trip I've ever been on.
Really? That's high praise. You've traveled a lot, especially wifey goes bougie. So that's very high praise.
Yeah, I mean we'd wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning every day, and we would get like early access to all of like the temples and sites.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. So you can just putz around with nobody there.
Exactly.
That's pretty gas. Actually, that's really gas. Okay, last question, and then we'll wrap it up. What is your equation of excellence? What do you think excellence is a function of?
I would say, for me, it's resilience, discipline, and creativity.
Ooh, that's beautiful, man. That's real. I love that. No notes. Absolutely no notes. That's fantastic. Saunder, I knew this was going to be a banger, and it absolutely was. How can the people find you? How can they buy more buffed energy? How can they support you? This time is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I just follow Buffed Energy on all the socials. It's just Buffed Energy, one word.
The gram is so good. I love what you guys are doing over there. It's very fun to follow.
That's my creative outlet. Like, I don't know. I struggle with like I'm definitely most active on like Instagram because I just feel like I can most organically share my life there, where I feel like Twitter I have to like pretend to be someone I'm not, and it's hard to be like authentic and show up there. So follow Buffed. Buffed is like I think where you really see like my creativity and where I kind of push the limits. So
amazing, dude. One of my favorite humans. Thank you for making the time. People, go to FermontCommerce.com, go book a demo and tell my boss Rob sent you so I can keep doing these podcasts for you. Also, we have a fantastic newsletter that goes out every Friday called The Geometry of Growth. We do a bunch of really cool roundups of stores, products, content, podcasts, all that amazing stuff. And then we also have a sister show called D2C Hunter, where I do basically an analysis of the whole customer journey from pre-purchase to actual purchase to delivery to the unboxing. So go check that out on our YouTubes. And then, like Sandy said, go follow him on the Instas. And that's all we got for you, folks. Saunder, thank you so much again, dude. This is great. I'm all jacked up on my buff though now. Now I need to go do something or something. I'm excited about the pre-workout too. That's a really cool idea of the power up. I think that's a really smart way to do it. I love how you're building not only the experience but matching that with the economics. You're just a one-on-one dude. I'm so happy you're in my life. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Rob. Likewise.
All right, folks, that's all we got for you. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, like, do all the things to make this surface more. And then also on the Twitters at Robert Rahill, let me know if there's anything that you want me to change, improve, do different. This show is for you, and I want to make sure it is generate as much value for you as possible. And that's another one in the books. So bye.